So I finally watched Fast X, and I'm just gonna give my quick non-spoiler thoughts. But before I get into the review, do want to clarify I'm a major Fast and Furious fan. I really love a lot of the films. Fast Five is one of my favorite action films of all time. I really love the characters. I really love what they did with this or with this film franchise. Now, to give you a quick summary, I didn't like F9. I've done reviews multiple times. I thought that movie was beyond stupid. Until this day, it is still the only Fast and Furious movie that I genuinely don't like and can't rewatch. I even like Too Fast, Too Furious, Tokyo Drift, although that one's more iconic. To just let's get into this review. I think this movie is not going to change anyone's mind. This movie continues the beyond stupid craziness of the Fast and the Furious franchise. Honestly, if you don't like these films, then this movie's not going to change your mind. But if you do like these films, then you're gonna have a blast with this one. And that's to quickly sum up genuinely if we're not, because I know people are gonna ask, should I watch this movie or not? Now, I will say this though, I'm surprised by how many people skipped F9 because I've been getting that a lot. Like people being like, oh, do you need to watch F9 in order to get this? Realistically, you don't. All you gotta know is the whole John Cena subplot. I'm not. You know, I'll quickly just say it's John Cena. That him and Dom had issues in nine, and now they're brothers again. But let me get into this film. I thought this movie was all right. I think this movie had a lot of great action in it. It was fun for the most part. I really enjoyed it. Again, one of the standouts is always Tyrese Gibson and Ludacris's friendship, their dynamic. I really tend to like that dynamic a lot. But the number one thing, and this saved this movie, and I'm not even joking when I say save this movie, but Jason Momoa as Dante, he is a standout villain. He is our, even though this movie is not in a good section of the Fast movies. Like I think there's a lot better Fast movies than this. This movie has the best villain in the Fast and Furious franchise, even better than Jason Statham. And I love Jason Statham's Deckard Shaw. I think he's great in Fast Seven, and I loved him in Hobbs and Shaw. But Furious, he's also in this film, which we'll get into in a little bit. But Dante, man, Jason Momoa. It honestly, there's a lot of reviews saying that he felt like his own version of the Joker. And while obviously he's not the Joker, man, this is actually like if Mamoa. It feels like it was Momoa's attempt at Joker, which felt fun. He was hilarious. There's so many funny jokes. What's funny is because half of his jokes kind of feel like something you'd expect in a Marvel film, but he's actually funny. You can tell he's having a good time. And Dante, major standout. Everyone else in the cast, I think, was subpar. Vin Diesel again is just the usual stoic family kind of lines. Michelle Rodriguez, same thing. Tyrese Gibson, Lucas, like I said earlier, were funny, but everyone in the movie. I'll talk about the new cast. Brie Larson. I think Brie Larson was dope in this movie, but it's another criticism I have of the film. But Brie Larson was dope in the movie. She was cool in it. In fact, I think she's cooler in this movie than she was in Captain Marvel. Everyone knows I do not like Captain Marvel. I know everyone's going to go into this film hating Brie Larson, but I'll just say this right now. I think she's great in what she has. Unfortunately, this movie has one major issue, and it has too many characters. There's so many goddamn characters that it just feels like you're juggling one section, then the other section, and the other section. It just feels like Infinity War, but without the charisma, if that makes sense. Because a lot of these characters, I mean, I like a couple of them, but some of them just don't hold their own weight. Like I love Han, I love Deckard Shaw, I like Dom, uh, but some of the characters just don't hold their own weight, and to me, it just again feels like Infinity War without the charisma of the characters. The part that made Infinity War so enjoyable was seeing characters you love like Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Drax all interact. At the same time, you have Black Panther, Groot, Rocket, Thor, Captain America all interacting on their own, and that's what made it special. But this movie felt that way, but without the specialness, because there was never a scene. I mean, besides Han and Deckard Shaw both meeting, that was the only time I really cared. But they also had Danielle Malco. She does nothing basically. Brie Larson, she's there in the movie. She's cool in the scene she has. But again, these feel like wasted because they just kind of feel like they're just there because hey guys, you recognize us, right? We're in other movies, yay! And that also feels the same with the actual characters we come to love. It just feels like they're there. And again, this movie has so much stupidity and so much dumbness that again, the Fast franchise, I think honestly is now on break. They're now on park mode. And I know these movies have always been unrealistic. Even going back to the very first film, there's always been unrealistic segments. Even one of my favorite action films of all time, Fast Five. Even that movie, obviously, everyone goes back to the Brazil vault scene, which is applied in this film. But at least at the time, it was realistic enough to where it's dumb, but there's a limit to the dumbness. While I don't think this movie was as dumb as Nine, it certainly was trying to compete with it. And at the same time, it's not really good if I'm trying to compare it to Nine, because it's like comparing a pile of dog shit and comparing a pile of cat shit. It's like you don't want to compare them. They're both bad, but and this isn't me just saying that the movie's bad. I think there's bad elements to it. I honestly, this movie made me laugh. Same criticism I had with Nine, where it made me laugh in scenes you aren't supposed to laugh. But then when they had funny scenes, there's besides Dante, Ludacris, and Tyrese Gibson all being funny. Besides them, the rest of the movie, I think there's some jokes that don't land. But Decker Shaw's also pretty funny. Again, this movie really makes you suspend your belief. It's frustrating so much because I'm not going to get into details because then it's spoilers, but there are scenes in this movie that genuinely happened, and all I kept thinking was, were the writers coked out? What were they doing? Like, but again, it's what makes you money, and but I don't know, man. I'm already seeing that it's tracking poorly in the box office opening week. I don't know. Again, I haven't been keeping up with that. But again, while I think this movie is better than F9, it certainly is one of the weaker Fast films. I think there's a couple better. I would say Fast 6. I would even say Fate of the Furious is better. But again, the major thing about this movie that I really loved was Dante. Jason Momoa was just that great. And I also like the cute scenes where Dom was talking to his son. I thought that was adorable. But the rest of it was just it was just there. I didn't leave this movie having fun or anything. It just kind of felt like I had fun with certain parts, but the rest of it just kind of felt like, why'd I even pay for a ticket? Why'd I pay for full price? And I don't know. The dialogue in this movie was also kind of cringe. That same thing with F9. I don't even think I'm gonna watch the next Fast movie. Honestly, look, thumbs down or thumbs or not thumbs. I'm messing up. Sorry, thumbs down or thumbs up. I would give it like it's almost going thumbs down, but there's still a little bit of the movie saving it for me. But realistically, man, I don't think I'm gonna watch the next film. This movie ends in a cliffhanger. Technically, I'm not gonna spoil it, but that also made me upset because I watched this entire film and because I wasn't really entertained. Like, I was entertained to an extent, but when it got to the end, I was like, okay, finally, let's conclude this story. And it doesn't really feel like a conclusion. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. I don't even know what example I can use, but all I'm saying is there's a post-credit scene, and I'm not going to say what it is, but 99% of you guys watching already know what it is. But there's a post-credit scene and I was in a packed theater. I was surprised how packed the theater was, but the post-credit scene shows up, and the entire audience just began laughing at what happens. Because, if you know, you know. But it was just so funny. And I don't think that was supposed to be a funny scene. I think that's supposed to be a scene that Fast writers were expecting everyone to clap at, or cheer. But I don't know. This franchise has gone downhill. And what I'm happy is I own all eight of the Fast and the Furious films. And I'm so glad that I don't have F9, and I'm definitely not getting FX, which is what this movie's called. But there's so much drama behind this movie. I mean, a director literally left a week into filming. This movie is not a dumpster fire by any means, but the main issues with the film, it's dumb for the most part, and at the same time, the characters, like the writing, felt too jumbled up, and somebody's gonna tell Vin Diesel to get out of the writers' room or something, because most of this movie just kind of felt like, and same thing with F9. It just felt like Dom wanting to be badass, but it got beyond being badass and became dumb. And then you bring in these great actors and actresses, and you kind of sideline, besides Momoa, you kind of sideline them. I also felt there was almost no purpose to have Cena's character in this film. Again, I love John Cena in Peacemaker and Suicide Squad, but in these Fast films, Cena is just kind of lame. Although I do think he's better in this movie than the last one, because at least this time he's not trying to be a villain or stoic, serious guy. But again, he just feels off. Like, when Cena shows up, I completely forgot he was Dom's brother. I completely forgot that. I was like, oh, okay, Cena's in this movie. And I don't know why they keep making these Fast films, but genuinely, I just didn't have that much good of a time besides Dante. Again, props up to Mamoa. Honestly, the only way you can get me to see the next Fast film is if you announce a Dante spin-off film, kind of like they did with Hobbs and Shaw. And honestly, I would be far more excited for a Hobbs and Shaw 2 than a Fast 11. That's how genuinely disappointed I was with this film. It was just, there needs to be a limit with these movies. But no, that's it. I think I'm done with the franchise. Anyways, that's it for my review. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you all really enjoyed this video. Check you all out on the next one. Ciao.
Yeah, we broke and we know it, we don't act like all these other rappers acting like they got racks. Borrow cars, but we whipping in my mom's truck. 99 full, but act like it's a double R. Yeah, we broke and we know it, we don't act like all these other rappers acting like they got racks. Borrow cars, but we whipping in my mom's truck. 99 full, but act like it's a double R.